know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues. And frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism.
Kash Patel just got cornered on camera in front of the entire country, and he had no real answer. That's not spin. That's what happened when Jasmine Crockett looked the FBI director dead in the eye and laid out piece by piece why the man running America's top law enforcement agency should not be trusted with the job. Here's the context you need right now, today. This is the head of the FBI, the man in charge of catching killers, catching predators, stopping terrorism, and a sitting member of Congress just told him to his face he is the least qualified person to ever hold that job. Gone is the idea that this was just political theater. Done is the excuse that this was just partisan noise. What came out in that room was real, it was documented, and it should worry you no matter who you voted for. Stick with us, because what Jasmine Crockett exposed about Kash Patel in that hearing room should scare every single American.
Man, oh man, there has been so much today, and I truly don't know where to start. So I'm just going to make sure that we start off with a few facts. So a couple of facts that we need to make clear for everyone is that, number one, Director Christopher Wray, when he was appointed to be the head of the FBI, was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining. Yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you are already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues. And frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
Let's start with the resume, because that's where this whole thing falls apart. Kash Patel is the only FBI director in the history of the FBI who never served inside the FBI before taking the top job. Not as an agent, not as an analyst, nothing. He walked in from the outside straight to the top chair, and now he wants the country to treat him like the greatest director the Bureau has ever had. That's not an insult, that's a fact. And facts apparently are something this man struggles with. Before he was even confirmed, Kash Patel was already targeting career officials, people who had spent decades serving this country so they could be pushed out the door illegally. Cases tied to Donald Trump personally were being funneled through Patel's FBI. Think about that. The people investigating the president's own legal troubles were being cleared out by the president's own hand-picked director. Now let's talk about safety, because Kash Patel loves to talk about safety. Under his leadership, the numbers are clear. The vast majority of threats facing this country are coming from right-wing extremism. Republican lawmakers have received death threats. One congressman's wife had to start sleeping with a firearm in her own home because of anonymous threats against her family. And Kash Patel's FBI, silent. The day after all this scrutiny hit him, there was a domestic terrorism incident targeting a historically black college students on campus. And where was the FBI? Nowhere. No statement, no urgency, no accountability.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people. And even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody. And then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap. Because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there. Even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
The time of the gentlelady has expired. If the gentleman would like to respond to any of that. Well, I'll respond. Kash Patel, as I said when I introduced him, public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI Director. I think that's a pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country. And we've seen all the stats that he's given to the committee on how much better they're doing at getting the bad guys than the previous guy was doing. With that, I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I think you're witnessing some auditions, clickbait auditions for the Academy Award for my Democratic colleagues. We'll see how they fare as they're on MSNBC later on today. But do you care, before I launch into my line of questioning, to respond to Ms. Crockett from Texas on that very elaborate and theatric display?
Here's what I've learned in my government service. I don't give a damn what they say about me as long as I'm succeeding in the mission. We're succeeding in the mission because the men and women of the FBI have never been empowered to do more work and to hit the streets harder than by President Trump's authorities and resources he's given us. And so all I care about is that we are capturing more child predators than ever before, taking more drugs off the streets than ever before, that we are capturing murderers at a significantly historic rate, and we're delivering this country the lowest murder rate in recorded history. That are facts that you cannot dispute. But you can come at me all you want. I don't care.
Thank you, Director, for that. And we appreciate your service. We appreciate the results speak for themselves, I think, pretty plainly, and your commitment not only to results, but to transparency. So we do appreciate that.
And here's the part that should make you furious. Kash Patel told the Senate it will take 14 years, 14, before the FBI is even fully staffed to do its job. 14 years. Meanwhile, he's pulling resources away from real investigations so his agents can play immigration enforcement on American streets instead of doing the job they were trained for. Then there's the victory lap. Kash Patel posted not once but twice taking credit for catching a criminal. Both posts were wrong. Both had to be walked back. And the real story, it wasn't the FBI's brilliant police work that cracked the case. It was a parent, a mother or father who turned in their own child after that child had already confessed online. Kash Patel wanted the credit anyway. When Jasmine Crockett laid every single one of these failures out, item by item, on the record, Kash Patel didn't defend a single specific claim. He didn't address the targeted firings. He didn't address the HBCU attack. He didn't address the 14 years. Instead, he pivoted straight to talking points about murder rates and drug seizures, numbers that sound impressive until you realize they dodge every single question that was actually asked of him. This is a pattern. When Kash Patel gets cornered with specifics, he retreats to slogans. When a black congresswoman stands up and says she does not feel safe under his leadership, he does not answer her. He talks past her. That is not leadership. That is a man protecting his job, not protecting this country. Kash Patel had his moment to answer for his record, and instead of facts, he gave America a highlight reel. The people who needed answers, the families facing death threats, the students at that HBCU, the career officials pushed out the door, they got nothing. Jasmine Crockett did what she was elected to do. She held power accountable on the record with facts Kash Patel could not dispute. If you think the head of the FBI should actually answer for his failures, share this video, comment below, and tell us what you think should happen next. We'll keep watching. We'll keep holding them accountable.